Hello everyone, it's Shel C from PaperOcotilloStudio, and today I'm sharing with you a paper art doll, a fully articulated little paper doll that's decorated and dressed with removable clothing and is decorated on both sides. I'm starting out with 140-pound watercolor paper, which I'm going to decorate with a couple different stencils. I'm going to decorate both sides using this fluid watercolor, which is really fun, has fun names like Liliana and Celestia and fun names like that for the colors. I just have 6 colors of it. I purchased it from Kristie Taylor, who also designed the stencils that I am using today. She passed away recently from COVID, and so I'm doing it's angel wing themed swap on Stencil Girl Club this month in honor of Kristie. So if you'd like to purchase any of her designs on Stencil Girl, you can just go to stencilgirlproducts.com and then search by artist and look for Kristie Taylor, and you'll be able to find her designs. And if you purchase some of them, that of course would help her family, because their family would get the royalties from the purchase of the stencils. So if you want to help out, you can do that. I'll also link the 2 that I used here in the video below the video, and I'm pretty sure that you probably can't buy the watercolors anymore, although I haven't checked. It was an Etsy shop. I don't know if they're still making them or not. So what I did was I used some iCraft Pixie Spray, which is a stencil adhesive. And this stencil adhesive doesn't affect your stencils. I've used spray adhesives before, and they get sticky, and then when you go to put away your stencil, it sticks to other stencils. This one doesn't do that for some reason, and you give it a light spray, and then you just let I just wave it in the air for a minute. You could just set it aside for a minute if you want to. And then it becomes kind of like a Post-it note. That's my best way to think of it. But when you're using watercolors and you want maybe some of the design of the watercolor to stay, this is a good product to use, the Pixie Spray. I'll link it below the video. Because then you don't get any, well, you get some, but you don't get as much bleed into under the stencil, because the stencil's stuck down. Now, in the case of that one, which was rice paper, that didn't work at all. I'm not even sure if I put the Pixie Spray on. I can't remember now because this has been several days ago. But with the rice paper, it was very absorbent of the fluid watercolor, and I didn't get the effect that I wanted. So it's still really cool. It's bright, and it has a little bit of the design on it, but not too visible to the naked eye unless you look up close. So I've got this one with the floral mandala, and I'm just going back with some water. Should be clean water, but you can see my water's pretty yucked up, but I didn't go get any new water. Lazy. But I'm just blending the watercolor that is already there, that went through the stencil, and filling up the rest of the white space. I'm going to flip this piece over and decorate the back side, because this is going to be the part of the paper doll that's the paper doll, right? It's going to be completely decorated, completely covered, but I'm going to cut out all the pieces for the articulated paper doll from this piece of watercolor paper. That's the reason that I used a heavy watercolor paper, so that it's nice and sturdy for my project. So this time I know I did put the Pixie Spray on. This is the Dots and Diamonds, or Diamonds and Dots mask stencil that Kristie decorated. The other one was called Floral Mandala. She has several florals, but now I'm doing the same thing. I'm putting the colors, these fun colors with fun fantasy names, like I bet she reads the fantasy books like I do. You know, the ones you can read on Amazon or whatever with your phone. That's how I do it. This darkest one is almost like a Payne's gray. It's a really cool color, and I think that's the one that's called Celestia, but it's not black. I know it looks black in the video. It's just a really dark blue, and I think it's really like Payne's gray, which is a color that I enjoy a lot. Maybe it doesn't go with these bright colors as much, but by the time I soak it up with a little bit of rice paper, See how that works. Because I know the rice paper is really absorbent, so I can make several different types of paper. And that's that super bright one, and then I ended up getting some pattern on it with that. And there's a little bit of bleed, but I don't care. It looks cool. I like the way it is. So now I have even more papers than just the ones that you saw. I cut out a little bit because I didn't want to go crazy with it. But I want to seal these, and a good way to seal them is with a fluid medium. You could use gloss, you could use satin, you could use matte. This is my matte fluid medium from Liquitex. And I'm using my gel plate because I know that if I smush too much over that watercolor, it's going to move around. But if I just do one big print of it like that with the gel plate by putting it on there, it works great for this. So I want to make sure that all the little pieces of paper that I used get sealed because I will use them later. In, I made way more than I needed for just this project. By the time I experimented, by the time I picked up watercolor from the stencil, I ended up with a lot of little bits of paper. So I'm just sealing them all so that I can use them in the future. But I want to make sure that this one that I'm going to use for the project is completely sealed. I sealed it twice on both sides with the fluid matte medium just to make sure that everything's sealed in and it's ready to go for my doll. So then, excuse me, I got out some of my patterns. I will put a link below to the original pattern that I started using a long time ago if I can find it. I mean, that thing has been out there forever, but if I can find it, I'll link it below. But I can't even remember who it's from, but I could probably find it. I think I have it pinned on Pinterest. I altered that pattern a bit. I've actually altered it several times, and I altered it to be more realistically proportioned. The original pattern is a lot like a Barbie doll with really top-heavy top and a really thin waist and a top-heavy or bottom-heavy bottom, curvy, curvaceous, whatever. So I've altered it a few times to make it look more like maybe someone I might see. I fattened up the thighs. I made the stomach fatter, maybe smaller up above, maybe. It still looks feminine, but it's not as big. So I decided to use this kind of medium one. I cut out 2 sets. I ended up cutting out 2 sets, and one of them is left over. The other one I used to finish the project, and I used the one that's not as Barbie doll like, but not as heavy as the other one. And you guys have seen these before, and I will, in the iCard above and the end screen at the end, I'll link some of my other paper doll projects that are similar to this. I've never made one that's completely covered with stencils, however, and very colorful. Kristie was a colorful person, and she liked, colorful things. So I think this is a good one for her. So I have 3 leg parts, 3 arm parts, a torso, and a head. And I'm attaching them together using mini brads, mini paper fasteners. And so they're like little tiny, you put them through and then you split them in the back. And everything then can move. All the joints are loose and they can move and you can reposition the doll. I think this is really fun. Not sure that many people really like to make paper dolls. I have been doing it for a long time, and I actually do a swap group on Facebook that's called, I think, just Paper Dolls, I think. And I swap in there. And they recently had a swap that I didn't end up participating in because I thought I was too busy. But it was alien paper dolls. And some of the stuff that came out of that is so fun. I've been seeing them come in lately on my Facebook feed, and they're just really fun. So I wasn't sure about the head. I decided I wanted to make a halo, so I used some little pieces where they were patterned in the right way to make this attachable, detachable halo. And I made two sides. I cut out the front, and then I cut out a piece for the back, and then I put the glue around the edges of it. So there was a lot of circular shapes, mandala shapes on this stencil that were perfect for this type of thing. And this halo can slip on and off. It can be there or not there. It doesn't have any attachment, any complete attachment to the doll. It's a separate piece. So then I needed to decorate the face. I cut the head out of the lightest area of the print, so that I would be able to paint or draw on some features onto the face. So I'm doing that with a pencil to start out with. This is my mechanical pencil that I like to draw with. It's got 2B lead in it, so it's I don't have to press very hard with it or anything. And I've got my poly eraser there too, and erasing as I go, drawing, giving me an idea of where the features are going to go, and making sure that everything's balanced. It's tricky making sure that the eyes are the same. It's drawing faces is its own art form, and some people have really perfected it. I'm still in the process of learning how to do it right. And then I take a very, very fine, I guess I started out with the Posca pen and added a little bit of highlight. And this worked really well. I didn't want to completely paint the face over. I wanted it to match the rest of the doll, since the doll's completely covered in all these bright stencil designs. I didn't want the face to be like white, or pink or whatever. So I'm just adding color with the Posca pens, that kind of peachy tone to go up the bridge of the nose and across the forehead and the chin. That would be the parts of your face that are sticking out. And then I've got, I did blend the graphite around the eyes to make it a little bit darker, but I'm going to put some other color on there, I think. But I've got this very fine bullet tip. I think it's 0.01. I think it's a skinny, tiny little thing to draw in the lines with. And so I'm just drawing over the pencil lines in places where I think I need to. Eyebrows, eyes, pupil, that type of stuff, the nostrils, the lip line, and around the chin. It looks kind of weird if there's not a chin there. And I've got the white Posca pen to make the lightest highlights. And I have, of course, the other color Poscas, which I think I used it like a turquoise for the eyes, and then that peachy colored one, and a pink, and that's it. I didn't really do a whole lot. I didn't, go crazy with it. So then I decided, after all, that I didn't want to leave it bald. I thought at first that I was just going to do the halo, and but that just didn't look right. And there's this little edge of the stencil which has like these, what looked to me like locks of hair. They're kind of curly. I think it's supposed to be flowers, but it could also be hair. So I just cut little pieces out of that around the shapes, like the shapes that look like a curled lock of hair, and glued those on the back and the front. So she's got a little bit of a fringe over her forehead, and then it's on in the back too. And here's another little piece to go on the other side that's kind of coming down around her face. And in that way, I made kind of a short, curly bob type hair on her, so that she didn't look so bald. And there's going to be pictures at the end that you can look at to see what everything looks like up close. I know it's a little bit hard to see on the video, especially moving this fast, but I have to speed it up in order for it to fit into my 20-minute idea of what a video should be. I don't like to make them too long. So then I just drew in just lightly a few of the, the belly button, the underneath the breast, the buttocks, just because it looks weird to me if I don't. Then another piece of this leftover of what was left from the watercolor paper had this kind of what I thought looked like a wing. Now, the theme of this swap is angel wings because Kristie designed this beautiful angel wing stencil, but I don't have the stencil, and I think she would prefer fairies because just from the different things that, you know, like the colors of her watercolors, they're princesses from the fairyland, you know, or goddesses from Celtic lore, those type of names. And so I thought it would look better as a fairy. So I cut out one of them, and then I meant to cut out the other one, and I ended up cutting it on the wrong side. So it didn't, you know, these things can happen. There's a right side and a wrong side, and I did the wrong side. So I took a piece of another one of those stencil print type things that I made when in the process of making this, and glued it over the top, and it's similar colors to the other one and similar pattern so that the two wings look the same. Then I'm drawing in the fingers, drawing in the toes, making sure that it's got fingernails, things like that, just little things to finish up. And I put the wings on in the same place that the arms are attached to the torso. So that goes through 2 layers. And the wings can move, the arms can move, they can fold at the elbows, you know, the knees and feet can move. So then I thought maybe she needed some type of an outfit. So I took a different piece of paper. This one was text weight paper that I had used the excess watercolor on the stencil to make a stencil print. This one is a mask stencil, but you can also make a print out of it by, while it's still wet, you just lay another piece of paper over it, because these watercolors from Kristie are just, they're an intense watercolor. So there's plenty left over on that stencil after I use it to make another print, or 2 or 3. So I cut this piece. I cut the little diamond shapes at the bottom to make kind of a fancy hem on the skirt, and then I'm using a piece of Velcro, a Velcro dot that has sticky on it already, and so that will be able to be removed. You just unvelcro it and it can come off. So that's the skirt part, and then I just made a little halter top to go, you know, with the same piece of paper. I just cut out a section and glued that on to the skirt. It just stays up on its own. I considered punching holes in the top and tying it around the neck, which maybe I should have done that, but since the arms kind of go over it, it just stays up on its own, so I didn't. So there's her little dress. I hope you've enjoyed this art doll video, and if you have, please remember to give me a thumbs up, and of course to subscribe, turn on your notification bells. I've got links below the video for the products that I used, and for to go take you over to Stencil Go products for Kristie's designs if you want to purchase some to help out her family. The last thing I did was, this is a diamond dust colored Stencils glitter glue. So it's like a prismatic glitter in a glue, and I just added sparkles to the wings. I added sparkles to the halo, and then some on the dress and a little bit on her lip and her eyes. And then I added a few sticky gems to the halo and to the dress. Stick on half gems with sticky on the back to finish it. So I think she's cute. I think she fits the theme of the swap, even though she's maybe not an angel as much as a fairy looking. I think it's appropriate for what it was. This thing is like a little strip that has some shiny bits on it, so I kind of made a little belt. And then I've got some stick-on gems and some on the halo. Yeah, that's it. So there are some close-up pictures coming up so you can see what everything looked like. And I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.